Welcome back to File New. My name is Ryan Selvey, and this is the best source of creator, artist, and tech news on Adobe Live. Today is Tuesday, June 25th. And what do we got for you today? We've got a bunch of cool stuff for you that I pulled out. We have a stylus that is for your headset, your Meta Quest. TikTok launched another Instagram competitor, and the logo is pretty ridiculous. You can watch your DJI drone on your Apple Watch to control it. There's a lens for a mirrorless camera to make your content look like a disposable camera. There are 10 lies creatives tell themselves and how to reframe them. The vinyl design for Saltburn is in, and it's gross but cool. The Detroit Zoo has a rebrand and a whole lot more. Sadly, this is the last episode of File New, so let's make it worth it. Let's get into the news. So starting off hot, the new stylus on the market, except this one is for the Meta Quest, which is the headset by Meta. This is reporting from Scott Stein at CNET. It works in creating 2D or 3D work in both augmented reality and virtual reality. It's $130 and will launch in September alongside the Meta Developer Conference. It's called the Logitech MX Inc. It has added haptics and pressure sensitivity, which is cool. And you could swap between controllers and stylus or use one in each hand. You can also have it compatible with Adobe Substance Modeler alongside 8 other drawing apps. And it works with both the Quest 2 and the Quest 3. Next up, we have some YouTube news for you. YouTube is experimenting with community notes. It lets users add notes to YouTube videos for misleading or inaccurate information. Matt Novak for Gizmodo reported on this. He says contributors will be invited by an email process. There's no clear indication what the qualifiers will be or how it will work. It'll be a third-party system similar to X, if you've ever been on X or Twitter, and it says that something is going on that is contradicting what is happening with the tweet. So like they'd tweet, be like, this guy is orange. And then, you know, there'd be a little notification underneath of it that says, historically speaking, at this time of the day, this guy is not orange. Like, check it just to be sure. There's uncertainty whether it'll be added to the whole video or if you'll be able to attach notes to specific timestamps or what. Because if a video is, 2 hours long and they have just one small segment that is inaccurate, I don't know if the whole thing will get tagged or what, but YouTube is trying out some new stuff. They're also experimenting with a new way to combat ad blockers, and as it stands now, ads are side-loaded, which means your computer receives the 2 videos and prioritizes the advertisement. So it gives you my video, and then it also gives you the advertisement, and it says, okay, play this video first before you play this other one. According to Anthony Ha from TechCrunch, YouTube is experimenting with injecting the advertisement into the video before it hits your computer, so your computer reads it as one video. Hence, it is unable to block the advertisement. Apple is reportedly working on a cheaper version of the Vision Pro. Benjamin Mayo from 9to5Mac reports that Apple has allegedly halted the development of the next generation of the Vision Pro and instead will be focusing on its effort on a cheaper, more affordable version. It isn't much of a surprise considering the base tier right now is $3,500 for the starter and has kind of fallen off the cultural zeitgeist after it was released earlier this year and around February. Information says that Apple is shooting for $1,500, which is a bit closer to a higher tier iPhone. And Apple announced at WWDC that the Vision Pro, as it stands now, would be rolling out to 8 new countries in the coming months, including Australia, Canada, and the UK. Speaking of Apple and the UK, Apple needs a win because apparently they might be fined $38 billion from the EU. This is because they are formally being charged with malicious noncompliance. Michelle Earhart for TechCrunch reports that the EU is charging Apple with violating the Digital Markets Act. And this forced Apple and the EU to allow developers to off-ramp users to their own payment plan. And in a quote from the EU Commissioner for Internal Market, Thierry Breton, posted on X that for too long, Apple has been squeezing out innovative companies, denying consumers new opportunities and choices. We'll see where it lands. Speaking of weird competitors, TikTok launched We, an Instagram competitor. This is spelled WHEE, like a little piggy going all the way home. Reported by Jay Peters for The Verge. This is different from the TikTok Notes app that was soft launched back in April that we reported on. And this is a new app with a very, very, very similar logo. I mean, it essentially looks like they unwound the Threads logo from Instagram and then instead decided to then just take the colors of the gradient of Instagram and put it in the actual logo. Wild move by them. But screenshots of the app listing feature things like a photo viewfinder, a list of friends to message, and a feed. It says to capture and share real life photos that only your friends can see, allowing you to be your most authentic self. But speaking of Instagram, Instagram is testing out a new user experience out, and it's apparently prompting users to send their posts directly to their friends after posting. This came to my attention via a Threads post by Lindsay Gamble. And after a user posts a picture, they immediately get a prompt asking them to send it to their friends. This comes after Instagram head Adam Mosseri revealed that shares per reach, how often a post is shared compared to how many people saw it, is a priority metric for when determining success on the platform. The COVA era trend of high school students posting their AP portfolios doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Rhea Nayar from Hyperallergic reports that AP portfolios are popping all up over the platform. AP portfolios require students to produce a series of 15 artworks related to a specific topic of their choice and supplemented by 5 select works that illuminate their technical skills. It was generally a more private situation, but really took off during COVID and never really seems to turn back down. It seems like it's another part of the process, kind of a rite of passage. There were some quotes saying that people started high school and their freshman year saw the seniors posting their portfolios and worked towards being able to post their own as a final presentation at the end of the year. And it's a really interesting way to be able to see the next generation of artists coming up and going into the next stages of their art school. So it's cool to be able to see people as they switch from one stage into another. They have a bunch of them focused on the article itself. Wade, who is moderating this live stream, has posted the link to the raindrop.io. That is links for all of the episodes that we've had and all of the links that we have for this show today. DJI has released an update to their Apple Watch, and DJI makes these cool little gimbals that you can put your phone on. And you can now control your DJI gimbals with your Apple Watch. So this reporting comes from Ishvina Singh for Drone DJ, which that's a new one for me. Drone DJ. That's a fun name. They say that you can now control your DJI Osmo Mobile with your Apple Watch. You can view the camera feed. You can take photos and videos. You can adjust the gimbal. You can switch between portrait and landscape. And you can use Active Track for an easy shooting experience. So I'm thinking you can maybe give it to somebody else and then you control it on your own watch, or maybe you like station it somewhere and you can mess with it. But the captured photo or the first frame of the video can be viewed remotely on the watch. So especially if you want to put it over there, maybe you're like recording yourself, you could then mess with it on it, similar to when people take their own pictures with their watch and just regular iPhone. But now you can have it. But speaking of companies that also need a win, sadly for DJI owners, that's not the only reason the company has been in the news this last week or so. On June 14th, the bill to ban DJI drones in America narrowly passed the House of Representatives. Jordan Aldridge for Senate D reported on this. Lots still to go here. The bill still has to pass both the House and Senate committee votes, followed by passage in both houses of Congress before finally being signed by the president. But it is a little concerning because it's unclear if it will stop all active piloting, including the drones that are already sold and stationed in the U.S., or if this is just some sort of like software update or something that they can just apply to new drones. It's unclear. If you have one, make sure you follow this story quite closely. I know a lot of people in real estate and events tend to use these. I've seen these a lot also with weddings. There is a new documentary out on Paramount Plus called How Music Got Free, and all about the changing music industry over the decades and the internet. Michelle Galina interviewed Brian Monroe Simpson, who is the editor of the docuseries, about crafting the documentary using Premiere Pro and After Effects. They talk about creative inspirations, editing learnings, and a look behind the scenes of creating a docuseries. And final news, I guess, is the file news. I'm super sad that this is the last episode. I don't know what it means for this format moving forward. I don't know if I will start something else up on the side, but I will keep you guys posted. Make sure that you follow me, Ryan Selvey, on Instagram or on Blue Skies at ryanselvey.com. But let's go on and hop on over to thoughts. What happens when an artist's style transcends their own portfolio and becomes part of the cultural moment? It's nice that U.S. editor-at-large Elizabeth Goodspeed recently did a deep dive into the idea. The almost double-edged sword of being popular means more recognition, means more competition, means more copycats, which leads to more work, and it goes round and round and round and round and round. But she explores the pros and cons of this idea, focusing on some organizations and brands that pay top dollar for the original creator of the movement, almost in a way that you pay for a Prada bag rather than the fake one you can buy on the street. She also brings up the issue of companies and clients who don't want to pay top dollar and will pay someone else to copy the style. She also notes the success of a style when picked up by a brand. Will it hurt your portfolio moving forward after a successful campaign? Will Daniel Radcliffe ever not be Harry Potter? Some styles and moments come from moments of interest in tech or process. I'm looking at you, Risograph. If you've been to any small print sort of expo recently, Risoprint, which is Risograph. I don't even know if they call them Risoprints, but Risographs. And then I really like what Elizabeth says. She says, personal style is a bit like a fossil, a tangible record of the collaborations, influences, and cultural experiences that have shaped a designer over time. Also looking at you, 3D. These popular moments in style can lead to brand new open doors, not obviously previously accessible to the artist. So maybe it was something like, sort of niche, crazy new approach. And then companies were not as comfortable trying that new approach and were like, this is too out of our reign. But then once it becomes really popular, they're like, oh, we want that look. Suddenly they can work for the same company that previously was too afraid to work with that specific artist. This also works for public speaking events or endorsements where suddenly an artist can have access to a bunch more opportunity because their style and their vision has become part of the zeitgeist. This write-up is really great and it breaks down a lot, but evidently lands on get your freak on, embrace your style, and see where it gets you. Despite economic pressures and the idea of developing your own style being a luxury because it's part of the grand journey of being an artist. Social media has thrown a wrench in it as usual, but go on that journey and see where it takes you. Who did it first? You can only figure out if you do what you're really passionate about and seeing what's going on. Keys, by the way, is also saying that Rezo is a brand, just like Xerox. Yeah, but I mean, I guess the idea of like having that specific machine, I think that it is something that I see a lot. I don't know if there are competitors to the Rezo print with the different types of printing it and what have you. And then our one other thoughts for today comes from the death of the chronological internet. This is from Joe Berkowitz from Fast Company. He writes about how algorithms are the new sweets, as he says, and maybe chronological internet is equivalent of eating your vegetables. So Threads continues to struggle with this because time and time again, their data shows that people stick to the app longer when algorithms are in For You feed kind of style where it's not chronological and they're giving you what you're interested in to keep looking. But users are demanding chronological order because basically they open up the app and at the top of a text-based product, they're saying that it says this was posted 2 days ago. And they're like, well, this thing is happening right now. I want to know about this thing. On Threads, you can take a roundabout way to then go and see chronological. But the data time and time again is showing that people are sticking around longer if there is an algorithm. But the argument here is that maybe we shouldn't be judging success off of addiction here. Maybe just because people are there for longer doesn't necessarily mean that that is a more successful app. Sometimes the moment is the most important, and maybe being able to step away shows a healthier app. The idea of this balance, I think, is most visible in Blue Sky, which is noted in the article, but also why I like Blue Sky, because you have the control of being able to adjust your algorithm and making the choice of being able to say, I want chronological, or I want to prioritize this event, or I want to do this, I want to do that. The one downside is that Blue Sky is not as important. Not important. Sorry, is not as prevalent in common things. Most people are talking about Threads, which has like 150 million users. I think Blue Sky has something like 8 million users last time that I checked. So, hopefully it sticks around. I like the approach, but we'll have to see if it's the one that wins, because at the end of the day, this is a lot of money talking, and you want people to be on the app for longer so that you can sell more advertisements or sell higher, monthly active users. But who's to say, and we'll see. But that's our thoughts for this week. Let's check out resources. I was served a few things on Instagram this last week, and Lamomatic 110 camera and flash Golden Gate was served to me, and I thought it looked really cool. Thought it looks a little bit like a Star Wars droid, kind of, because it has, BB-8's colors. But it is a small compact camera, and it works on a 110 film format. It also reminds me of these small, long cameras that I used to have that I think were made by Polaroid in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it has a detachable flash, which you can see over here on the left-hand side of it. It has 3 ISO settings, so you can switch between 100, 200, and 400. It has a f2.8, f5.6 aperture, and looks like a really cool way to just be able to have a fun memory from something that just kind of you can stash in your pocket. But they're obviously a little bit distorted, but that is kind of the cultural moment. This is the next thing that I want to talk about, which is Pocket Dispo. It is a lens that goes on your mirrorless camera to make it look like a disposable lens. That's because it's actually an authentic disposable lens, and it has a focal length of about 28 millimeters. It is only $50, and it fits on Sony, Fujifilm, Canon, Nikon, Nikon, Micro Four Thirds, and an L mount. And you can see it's goofy. It's just like this tiny little thing that brings it on down. And they look really authentic. It's just funny because, for the longest time, we were working so hard to make sure that it looked like our pictures were taken on a professional camera. And then now we've gotten to a point where we're trying to make it look like they're on disposable, even when you're using a several $1,000 camera. But I have not tried it myself. I haven't tried either of these products myself, to be honest. These are just things that popped up in my Instagram advertisements, and I liked it. Also, you guys are saying that I called them Nikon, and I'm sorry. What can I say? This is the lens from another angle for you, on a cute little angle and nice little product hot shot for you. Oliver says, I have one of these plastic lenses for my Canon, not the specific one, and it's wonderfully rubbish. Oh, interesting. Well, the one about this one apparently is that it's 3D printed, and they're actually using the actual lenses from a disposable camera, and they're implementing it into this thing. I also don't know how that works with the border, if it has black that pops up or not. But like I said, I haven't used it. Also, I don't know if your wonderfully rubbish is sarcastic or wonderfully rubbish as in like it is rubbish and it's great or not. Who knows? And then our last resource for you guys today is from Patrick Morgan. He is an LA-based creator with a newsletter called Better by Design, and his most recent post is 10 lies creatives tell themselves and how to reframe them. A few of the highlights are, when I get blank, I'll be happy, and replacing this with outputs with replacing this idea and the outputs and then replacing it with inputs. The idea of like the reward is what you put into it, the thing that you are investing into your work and the process and the reason why you're doing it. That should be the reward there, and change that mentality to make sure you're enjoying what you're doing. You're not trying to do what you're doing to get to an end. Another one is someone will be there to save me, and you can replace that with whoever wants it more does the work. There are 10 that are really great. He does a full news article called Better by Design, has a bunch of really great different articles that he posts pretty regularly, and it's his thoughts, and they're really fun. Also, real quick to cycle back on the disposable lens. The disposable lens is called a pocket dispo, which is DISPO, so like disposable. But the little lens in the middle is the lens that's actually the lens. And then let's go hop into hyperlinks. Oliver is also saying that his rubbish lens has some heavy vignetting, which I think would be interesting. Okay, so the first thing that we have is advocab.com, advocab.com, and it is all part of being a designer. Because when you're a designer, you have to navigate the office and lingo, and there is 1,000,001 acronyms, especially in the agency world. That's the world that I came from. Basically, AdVocab does a really good job at showcasing not only the different words, but they do a really cute way of also explaining them and also illustrating them. So let's go to M and MPU. So it says MPU is a mid-page unit, is a banner ad that is 300 by 250 pixels. This type of banner appears halfway down the website on either the left or right because of its compact size. The MPU is also one of the more popular mobile display units. It'll also provide you with some related vocab that you might run into, like a DMPU, which is a double MPU, and that's a digital banner ad type which measures 300 across 600. Which makes it a little bit taller. But it's a fun website to just browse around, see what you know, see ones that you don't know, and see if ones like you think that they kind of just like made up. But obviously there's like end of day. I don't know what EOP is. EOP sends end of play, which is the same as close of play, and it's usually around 18 to 20 minutes, not the precise time you finish work like end of day is, but still a reasonable working hour, unlike end of day, which could be midnight. Oh, 1820. So that's not minutes. That is saying like that. I've never heard that before. But I also have always assumed that end of day, they always just mean that they want it before like 5 o'clock. Even though I'm a night owl. What's up? Anyway, that's advocab.com. Check it out. It's free. I'm sure they're adding it. I don't know who made it. I think it's from, what is this? FCB LDN or FCB London. I guess they're an agency. They're transforming a household name, getting comfortable in shoes. Look at that. Then we have one that we kind of also mentioned before, which was Designspells. But I wanted to go back to this one because they actually highlighted a really cool one animation that I thought was really cool. And this one is from the new WWDC when they're updating the new iOS for Apple. And they did a really good job at being able to highlight the cool new pieces of animations that are coming basically system-wide to a bunch of things on your phone. I gotta find the link for it so I can bring it up myself. But this one in particular deals with when you're muting and unmuting the Designspells. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, man. Screenshot this, you guys. Look at Mitch McConnell. Designspells.com. It does a really good job at regularly just pulling up cool new animations. And this bell wiggle right here, which I'm showing you guys now, you can see that when you are muting or unmuting it, it kind of expands the dynamic island. It makes the bell shake when you're turning it from silent to unsilent. It also is really cool with this kind of blurring of the sides here on both the time and the icons. And then it kind of gets you down a rabbit hole where they also show some other really cool ones, like this animated interactions of what it looks like when there is translation active happening. And there's this really cool, like, Marvel-esque snapping function of these pixels and particles taking the two and showing that it is translating between the two. Across the board, they just have really fun ones. They're all labeled, so you can see this was Spell 101, and the previous one I think was like 112 or something, so it's all kind of within the same thing. They're not all specifically iPhone. Like I said, we've gone over this before, but they have continued to add to it, which is really fun. The login page for Retro apparently has a bouncing logo, kind of like the old DVD menus, but it changes material and the call to action whenever it hits the side, which is really fun. So just a fun thing to kind of waste time on, get inspiration, and check out. I think it's a really good resource, and I'm really excited personally for the new animations to come to iOS sometime soon. And then one last resource or a hyperlink for you guys today. And this is Smashing. It's from the creator of Goodreads, which if you guys are any readers out there, you know, is the go-to app that people use to kind of document what they're reading and review the books that they're reading. It actually started off as an independent company. Then they sold to Amazon back in like 2013, 2014. And I guess the founder has been trying to figure out what to do next. Apparently, he originally had plans to implement articles into Goodreads, but once it got bought by Amazon, he just was not into it anymore. So Smashing is his new baby project, and it's for AI and human recommended suggestions from around the web. This is highlighted by Sarah Perez from TechCrunch. It will help gravitate users to publishers' page and also surface newsletters, because the web is in a new era of lots of information spread around many different places and many different formats in order to get it, whether it's social media or newsletters, which are super popular. You know, you have Substacks and Ghosts now. Then there's also all the actual news organizations that are posting it that are then also being scraped by different search engines. So this is a way to bring back the human element of it while also being able to get people over to it. Oliver is saying, I am on Goodreads as well. I wish I read more, but I don't. But speaking of reading things, there are typefaces when you read things. So let's do Font of the Week. Font of the Week is when we like to go over some of the typefaces that are available for you on Typekit and other cool font news. This one is the Font of the Week. It's called Suds, and it's designed by Jamie Chang from Manic Type. Suds is a graffiti and bubble letter inspired color font inspired by the 90s. There's like a theme today of 90s stuff, I guess. And basically, it is what you would see in, you know, your notebook maybe when you're sitting around, but a little bit more finessed. It's a script typeface built from winding strokes that create dynamic and vibrant forms. Suds is a unique and fun display typeface made to excite and attract. The font uses COLR font technology to allow the layering of letters, tightening the space between characters so you can see they overlap each other and are able to prioritize. It doesn't just look as a mesh. It comes from Manic Type, and they're an independent type foundry that focuses on providing tactile typography for textural fanatics, they say. They're Toronto-based, looking at you, Annika. And they offer type designs, lettering, logo designs, and other type-related services. Please don't put your document in this typeface. This is clearly a display fun font. Kendall says, it's so fun to play with. I'm trying to find an excuse to use it on a client project. She just downloaded it. And Keys says this is one that was used by Corey a while back. And Barbara is also saying this is a fun font. Look sleepy font, says Robert. I mean, if you want it to be sleepy, you could, you know, good night moon it. I don't know. Moving on, graphic designer Emmanuel Abrate. That is spelled Emanuele, and the last name is Abrate, which is Abrate. Has a series where he replaces the word mark of famous logos with a typeface that they use. So this was reported on by Digital Synopsis. They did a cool showcase of the series, so you should check it out because there's like 20 of them. Oliver is saying that he's going to use the previous font in his CV. Don't do that. But some of the examples are like Gil Sans was used for Toy Story. So rather than it saying Toy Story, it switches out and it says Gil Sans. He also does Helvetica for Target and Johnston for the UK Underground. Mind the gap. And then our last story for Font of the Week is a new typeface for Spotify. And this news story comes from Tom May at Creative Boom. German type studio Dynamo created the typeface called Spotify Mix. and it's supposed to also reflect Spotify's diverse genres and music offerings and audio offerings like podcasts. It's a variable font with flexibility across width and weight, and Tom May points out one of its standout design features is the almond-shaped counter space found in letters like P, D, and G. This seemingly subtle detail serves as another metaphor by subtly alluding to the transmission and expansion of audio waves. It has so many fonts. It is a dynamic font, with a variable font, so that you can literally use a slider and switch up to see where it goes. Dynamo says it combines elements you'd find in geometric, grotesque, and humanist typefaces and blends them together. So I don't think we'll be able to use it anytime soon, but cool to see a company investing in their typeface and how things work. Apparently it'll be rolling out onto the app in the coming weeks and months. So keep an eye out for it. See if you can identify it. See when they stretch it big or tall, or short and fat, and go from there. Let's go and hop into a portion that I really like, which is Ticketbooth, when we talk about different art shows that have happened and are coming up. So first one is one that actually already happened, but I thought it was really interesting. So I thought that I would introduce it because I think it's a cool approach. This is a Powerhouse held event. They hosted their first ever community art day. And according to Powerhouse's website, Powerhouse Arts is a not-for-profit organization committed to creative expression. Their purpose-built faculty hosts a extended network of art and fabrication professionals and educators who work together to co-create and share artistic practices vital to the well-being of artists and the communities to which they belong. Issa Fairfan for Hyperallergic wrote this, and in the warehouse of what used to be the Brooklyn Rapid Transit Station power plant, they held this big art event. The show featured everything from pottery making to soldering, drawing locals of all ages and skills. Jen Williams, the director of learning and engagement, highlighted the event's goal to ignite a passion for art across all generations. The day included a thesis exhibition by Brooklyn College MFA students and interactive crafts by groups like the NYC Resistor, which demonstrated creative uses of everyday items. Pulling straight from Issa's write-up here, she said that representatives from New York City's Civic Engagement Commission passed out ballots to anyone over the age of 11, and as part of an initiative called The People's Money, with New York City residents voting in a participatory budgeting process to allocate $150,000 to a program of their choice, and an art therapy program meant to reduce violence and promote expression was among the options on the ballot. Welcome, Monica, in the Behance chat. Right now we're going through our ticket booth, which is some cool events that are going on. One that we have also, this is in the future, is 15 art shows to see in upstate New York this summer, one of which I'm very excited about, and that is the last one that we have. But let me go through all these real quick. The first one is the Taliesin Thomas wrote this article for Hyperallergic. Pride and Protest photographs by Fred W. McDara at the Center for Photography is at Woodstock through September 1st. Nathan Young has Tune It or Die at Art Omi, July 6th to September 3rd. Carrie Mae Weems, Remember to Dream Hessel Museum of Art at Bard College, all the way through December 1st. And this is the one that I'm very excited about. Steve McQueen at Dia Beacon through April 14th, 2025. So you have like almost a full year to see this. It's site-specific installation that spans the full spectrum of visible light, and it is accompanied by a sonic component. I don't know what that means. Sonic component, I feel like maybe it's when you're at a concert and you can like feel it in your chest cavity when you're like close to the bass, which I always really like and also I'm always scared of. But it's also really cool that it plays with the entire spectrum of visible light for humans, which is always very cool, especially in a space like that where it's all illuminated from the sides and above, which is all saturated, colored, give me color. That's why I have my hue light bulbs. But it would be cool to go see. And like I said, that is at Dia Beacon through April 14th, 2025. So you've got plenty of time. Wade says Sonic, gotta go fast. Yeah, I hear you. And then one last one for Ticketbooth. We have Frida Kahlo, who is a Mexican painter from the 20th century. You probably know her for her self-portraits, or maybe even, speaking of chest cavities, she had like these casts that she had because of some ailments that she had going on, and she would actually paint them, and they're really beautiful. They were at the Brooklyn Museum like a year or two ago when I went to go see a show about her. And this is thanks to Jessica Stewart from My Modern Met for reporting on this. The show includes about 50 photographs of the artist, ranging from her toddler years all the way up to close to her death, and provides an intimate look into her life along the years alongside fellow artist Diego Rivera. Several drawings, a gouache painting original, and a blouse worn by the artist is also on display in the show. Rounding back to the last thing that we just talked about with a sonic component, Oliver says, doesn't that just mean there's sound? You would hope and think that if they said sonic component, maybe that means there's something a little bit more to it. It might really just be auditory embellishments, but since they have the full spectrum of light, I want to really hope that it is something a little bit better than just sound. But Robert says, I can also see that it can be very sonic in that room with all the echo. Yes, that makes sense. Let's hop into Rebrand. We got quite a few for Rebrand this week. The Detroit Zoo. You ever been? I've actually never been to Detroit. I'd like to go at some point. But they did a rebrand for their zoo, and this was spotted by Armin Witt at Brand New. Great website, great subscription. Some commenters mentioned that it looked a little bit like Zendesk, which once I saw was a little disappointing to then be like, oh, I kind of see it. But I still think it's successful. There is a really cool element to it. It kind of reminds me of the AOL rebrand from about a decade or two ago, where they are using the logo itself to use it as a window into some cool footage or images that they would like to represent the zoo itself. It kind of looks like binoculars and the thing that you look in when you like pay for a quarter, and then you can like look really far, which I guess is very zoo-like in the idea that those are at zoos, and also you go there to look. They even expand out of the O's of zoo. That's what makes the binocular like shape. And this one, they have the butterflies, and in the example where I took this from, they're actually flapping their wings, so you can add an animation to it as well. And I think that's really cool. The Z, the more I look at it, you start to see kind of like a percentage sign. But just the way that it works, I think it's a lot more fun than the previous rendition of it. The last one doesn't really have as much personality. This new one is bold and feels like it has personality. I particularly like the T's, the slant of the T's, because they kind of go along with the Z. You can kind of match the T angle from the top left, right, or top left diagonal, and kind of match it almost to this angle that's going on. And then I also really like how the Detroit part of it is kind of brought over top of the Z, and just feels like the most focus is on zoo, which the rest is all about viewing things. Keith says, so a cropped percentage character said it at the same time. Yeah, I see it. Barbara's saying, go to Chicago. They have 2 major zoos. All right, not a contest. Then, speaking of competition, Nike is a competitive brand. Do you guys like that transition? Sometimes I don't have transitions for these. Sometimes I just go for them, and other times I don't have what it is. But Nike released a logo for Asia Wilson, and Natalie Fear from Creative Block wrote a good opinion on it. There's a lot of flack from the creative community about it, saying that it's not a good logo, but Natalie voices favor. And Serena Williams and Tiger Woods have previously also had collaborations with distinct logos with Nike, but this one is inspired by the shape that Asia draws her signature with. And so they actually even included some of the sketches for it being figured out. You can see here on the bottom right, very bottom right of there, is her signature, and you can see that there is kind of the make between the two that turns out to be that. Reddit also criticized that it looks a little bit like a sideways snail, which, like, I guess I could see. Yeah, you can see, because it kind of has like the little things, but well, it'd be this way. I went the opposite direction, like that. And I don't know. I could see some of those criticisms, but for the most part, I think that it is a unique icon. I don't think that there's really anything else that comes to mind that looks like that in my brain. Like, I don't think it looks like any other logo, so it's definitely a focus and strong in that regard. For speaking of which, totally tangent here. Someone in my building has a Cybertruck, and I will tell you that, say what you will about that car, if I leave my window open and I hear people walk by, the amount of people that take a picture of that car and comment on that car every single day, every single hour, is exponential. So sometimes, like, you know, if it's enough for you to remember it, maybe it's more successful than you think it is. So I agree with Natalie Fear from Creative Block on this one. I think it is a successful logo. I like seeing the background behind it. Looking at the other ones that they could have gone with, I think that they chose the strongest one. And I wish them the best. Speaking of people not liking logos, though, Marvel Comics' new logo kind of sucks, actually. That's what Gordon Jackson from Gizmodo wrote. That was literally the title of the article. Marvel Comics revealed an updated logo to better differentiate its film, animation, and comic book divisions from one another. Basically, Gordon was like, wow, people are really finally going to understand when they're looking at a comic book versus when they're watching a movie. Like, they were so hurt to be able to find that differentiation. But the new logo is based on the same design language as Marvel Studios and Marvel Animation logos. Gordon argues in his article, for a visual medium, Marvel Comics' new banner is strikingly bland and derivative, aping the earlier Marvel Studios logo in a weird stab at brand's energy. He says, this new logo only seems to signify Marvel's refusal to innovate a single ounce further. Let's go to Spotlight. For Spotlight, the very first one that we have is the art book for children by Farron Gibson, Amanda Renshaw, and Gilda Williams. Found out about this via Jason Kottke, which is Kottke. He has a really great website. He constantly is posting really good links. So since this is the last episode of File New, as I said, that would be a really good place to go check out for new stuff. Sadly, Sidebar also closed, so that's no longer a thing. But Kottke, he is really good at posting things. A lot of it has art, a lot of it design, you name it. Also just fun things around the web, so check it out. But Jason posted about this book. It features 60 artists through a wide range of large-scale, full-page reproductions of famous artworks, including paintings, photographs, sculptures, videos, prints, and installations from across time and space. And it is aimed specifically for kids aged 7 to 12. You can recognize a lot of the names that are in it. You know, like, once again, we have Frida Kahlo. This is who we were talking about earlier, who has the show in New York. There's also the Andy Warhol page that talks about his influence. Who else do they have? They have Hilma Clint, Botticelli, you name it. It's a really good way to be able to introduce your kids to art. And I feel like when I was younger, I wanted to know more about art, but you get kind of a really weird connection with it, especially before you're, 13, like in middle school or something. You don't really get that much exposure. I see a few different children's books, especially for like Frida Kahlo, but not to this extent. And I think this is a really good resource, especially if you have kids. I'm gonna get it for my nephews once they get older enough. And it'd be cool to check out. Next thing to spotlight is Birdbox Studio. It's an animation studio that prides itself on beautifully animated and elegantly crafted work. Found this from Paul Strauss at The Awesomer. Another really great website if you want to check that out. They released a short, less than 2-minute short, and it's an animation of a hiker reaching the summit of a mountain. It has a very cute payoff. I don't want to play the whole thing because I don't want to upset them. I really just want to kind of gear you guys towards checking it out so they don't lose a view. That said, we can look at a cute little preview of it at least. and I just won't play the music or anything because I also don't want to get a copyright strike for it. But you can see, I want to make sure that there's still credit on here, so I will close it a little bit closer like that. Called Summit. And he goes up, and he wants to go at the very top. But there's a little sheep in the way. Like I said, it's under 2 minutes long. The way that he kind of approaches to be able to see it and get to the top is a fun payoff. But I definitely recommend checking it out. And good to them. It's fun. And also, to subscribe to their YouTube channel in general. They have really great shorts that are fun to watch. Cool. And then next up, we have the Saltburn soundtrack vinyl came out. Natalie Fear for Creative Block reported on this. The record is decorated as bathwater, which is gross and disturbing and really cool, depending on how you feel about it. You can see, I think it's clear, if not just white. And I really like being able to see with vinyls, people experimenting what they look like. I've seen ones that have been isotropes, or is that what it's called when it plays, it like makes an animation, which is really cool. And it's just really nice to always see a unique design approach to something that is, kind of part of the cultural moment. And that scene is a very famous scene, and it's kind of what it is known for. So it's nice to be able to see that the soundtrack is also embracing that language and that idea. Then we have Daniel Savage's kaleidoscopic animations are made with marker pen robot drawings. And this is from It's Nice That. It is Ellie Tree. And basically what he does is Daniel Savage creates really cool animations by taking marker pens and programming a robot to print them. Results in a really cool squiggly thing, but then takes it the extra mile to use the yellow, pink, and blue overlapping to create these really beautiful spreads of animation. And through that, they have a whole write-up about it that I recommend you checking out. But you can see that they kind of animate and move around. He also includes instances where you can see it actually printing out. Once again, I'm gonna mute that so we don't get in trouble for it. But it ends up making this like grid of things. But then when you play it, kind of like the isotrope, it shows out. You can see it even at like a zoomed out scale. Really trippy, really cool. There's a whole write-up about it, and I suggest that you guys check it out. And then our very last thing for Spotlight is just talking about File New and the show and what is next. And I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that has supported the show and has commented on the show and been around for the show. It has been something that I've been so passionate about and so excited to do. I really love doing it every single week. Like I said, I am going to try to figure out what this means next. This is not my end at Adobe. It's just my end for this specific show. I will probably have some other thing figured out with Showwise. Probably Photoshop or Illustrator focused. But I don't know how you guys feel about the format. If you'd like to see it somewhere else, maybe, on its own channel or something. I don't know. But it's been really cool. Allie Rogers has been such an amazing help and producer for this. She actually passed out at the movie theater like 2 days ago. Otherwise, she would be here for the last one. I'm comfortable sharing with that because she put it on her Instagram. She's fine, and all is good, but got 3 stitches. But she had a really great time on this show, and I wish that I could do some sort of highlight reel. Maybe I will do a highlight reel at some point. Hey, Peter's in the chat. Oh, and Allison is in the chat over on YouTube. Right as I like speak her into existence, and she's here. But thank you for all the kind words. Thank you to Peter and Oliver Keys, Umacorn, Wade. Thank you for being here and moderating and checking it out. Also to Robert Wennerberg, Aperva. I mean, there's so many people that like constantly always tuned in every single week for this, and so it is really inspiring and means a lot to me to see you guys joining in to see it. Oh, also Annika's here as well. Right as I'm like ready to sign off, a bunch of people are like signing on. But yeah, we kind of got through this stream a little bit earlier today. But thank you guys so much for everything. I don't know what else to say. It was such an honor and privilege to be able to do this. We had like 20 some episodes. Like how many did we have? Because I know this was 59, but we were picking up after Paul Tranny. And so let's see. This is episode 59. Our first episode together was episode 39. So exactly 20 episodes. So 20 different weeks, which are all available as replay on YouTube and as a podcast. I will be uploading this to the podcast. If I end up reviving this, not on YouTube's podcast feed, but on Spotify's podcast feed, I will be able to update with videos, but I won't be able to upload it to the Adobe Live channel. But what do you know? I don't know. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being around. Thanks for moderating, Wade. And I will see y'all real soon. All right. Bye, guys.